Elliot had always loved the rhythmic hum of his Braille keyboard. As he worked late into the night, the walls of his tiny apartment seemed to transform into a cathedral of stories. By day, Elliot helped others see. Not literally, of course. He was a rehabilitation counselor, guiding his clients toward new beginnings after life-altering injuries. The role was more than a job. For Elliot, it was a calling, a way to turn his own blindness into a light for others. But it was the nights he cherished. Writing became his refuge, a secret world where his imagination made up for everything his eyes could not. Across town, Ben sat at his desk, surrounded by sketches, tangled headphones, and a half-finished mug of coffee. As a graphic designer, he turned thoughts into visuals, translating emotion into vivid color palettes and stunning compositions. Ben, a trans man in his early 30s, often felt the weight of the world pressing down on him, much like the lines of ink pressing into paper beneath his sketching hand. He had fought battles to carve a space where he could exist authentically, a lifelong endeavor born of courage and raw determination. Still, there were days when the words and looks of others reminded him that his identity didn't fit neatly into their boxes. And then came the email, a book cover commission. Ben scrolled through Elliot's message and smiled at the clear, thoughtful tone woven into every sentence. This author knew exactly what he wanted: tactile elements, distinct textures, colors that evoked warmth without overpowering. Ben admired the detail. It was almost poetic in itself. The first meeting was unassuming. Elliot arrived holding a sleek cane, his smile polite, his strides sure. Ben greeted him openly, expecting to feel a strange awkwardness about the fact Elliot wouldn't see him. Instead, their connection unfolded gradually, the conversation flowing as effortlessly as ink on a page. Elliot explained the concepts behind his latest novel, while Ben began sketching along. They discovered how similar their working styles were, how easily they understood each other's creative languages. By the third consultation, something unspoken hung in the air between them. Was it admiration, curiosity, mutual recognition? Neither of them dared to name it outright. Weeks turned into months, and the book cover was soon finished, but Elliot found himself looking forward to the moments he could hear Ben's voice, even if it was just a quick phone call to discuss business or share feedback. It wasn't long before the calls extended beyond work. They talked about everything: late-night cravings for greasy takeout food, awkward encounters in elevators, childhood books that shaped them. Elliot confided about his long-held fears that his blindness made people pity him, while Ben shared his doubts about whether anyone could truly love him for the entirety of who he was. It was like peeling away layers of the past together. Their connection deepened into a romance that felt, at first, like a secret between the two of them. It was pure, simple, a meeting of minds, hearts, souls. But secrets don't stay secrets for long. The comments started subtly, sideways glances that were easy to dismiss. But soon the whispers became louder. Friends of friends would approach Ben with so-called advice, saying, "Don't you think Elliot only loves you because he can't actually see what you look like?" The words stung, as if they were insinuating his worth was diminished by his transness. Elliot, in turn, faced his own share of unsolicited remarks. Acquaintances sighed and said things like, "Well, you couldn't do any better anyway, given your situation." The walls seemed to close in on them after each encounter with the outside world, until those doubts began to creep into their quiet moments together. Ben would wonder, what if they're right? What if my appearance is the only reason Elliot loves me? Elliot wrestled with his own demons, asking, am I only with Ben because others assumed I should be grateful for any relationship at all? Distance began to take shape in those silences, not because of any lack of love, but because of the noise of others' ignorance piling up between them. It wasn't Elliot or Ben who broke first. Rather, it was both of them. On a rainy evening, after clearing away the dinner plates in Elliot's apartment, Ben spoke out loud what had been circling in his heart. "They don't see us," he began quietly. "They don't understand why this works." Elliot nodded, his hands clutched around the smooth grip of his cane. "Maybe I don't understand either," Elliot admitted hesitantly. "But I know how I feel. And I know I don't want to lose this." Ben sighed, leaning against the kitchen counter. "I don't think they'll stop. I don't think the world will get any quieter." Elliot stood. He took a careful step forward, softly reaching for Ben's hand. "Then we need to be louder," he said firmly. "Not to them, to each other." From that moment, things began to shift. The next day, Elliot joined a support group for people with disabilities. He wanted guidance in navigating the microaggressions he faced, but unexpectedly, he learned something deeper: how his blindness had made him internalize the pity of others. He came to realize that his self-worth couldn't be measured by external opinions, nor the occasional patronizing remarks of strangers. He owed it to himself to break free of those limitations. Ben, meanwhile, tapped into his artistic community for grounding. Conversations with other queer creators reminded him not only of where he came from, but of how far he had come. Through their solidarity, he began to reframe his journey. He wasn't defined by others' narrow perceptions. His transness wasn't a liability. It was an asset to his identity. The real victory, however, came not from their individual breakthroughs, but the strength they built together. Over weeks and months, they developed rituals to reclaim their love from the harshness of the outside world. Their kitchen became a safe haven for late-night cooking experiments. Their blindfolded trust walks across the park became both literal and metaphorical exercises in learning to lean on each other. Ben took up audiobooks for Elliot, reading aloud chapters every night, delighting in the sound of Elliot's laughter during funny parts. When the hurtful comments inevitably returned, they treated them like distractions in the background noise of their life. Every time the doubts arose, Elliot would remind Ben, "I didn't choose you because of what I couldn't see. I chose you for everything I do feel." And every time Elliot faltered, Ben would tell him, "You deserve to be loved fully and unconditionally. No disclaimers, no exceptions." It wasn't perfect. No love story is. But perfection isn't the hallmark of something real. The true magic of their relationship wasn't in pretending the world didn't sting. It was in knowing their love was resilient enough to withstand it. One particularly sunny day, Elliot surprised Ben with a tactile art piece, a canvas unique in design, rich with raised patterns and textured paint, so both of them could feel its beauty together. As Ben traced the surface with his fingers, Elliot spoke softly. "This isn't a gift," he said. "It's a reminder that we'll keep creating a story worth holding on to, no matter what others say." Ben smiled, letting his hands linger on the canvas before folding them around Elliot's shoulders. "No matter what," he repeated. And so they did. Their story wasn't just about overcoming challenges. It was about discovering the power of loving each other and loving themselves, unapologetically and without restraint. Because in the end, what truly mattered wasn't what others believed. It was the undeniable truth of how they made each other feel, whole,